Baseplan presents video features how to view your equipment availability in a calendar view, focusing on the following areas: accessing the planning calendar screen, filtering in the planning calendar by location and equipment, creating, viewing and editing rental contracts, viewing all equipment on rent by customer and site.
Okay, so I'm currently logged into Baseplan Enterprise, and we're going to be going over a screening Baseplan called the planning calendar. And so the planning calendar is a way that you can visually see the availability of your fleet between branches, types of equipment, the rental status, the service status, all that information, but more in a visual calendar representation. So this screen is actually available under two menus. So we can go over to equipment management, and we can see and go down here and find planning calendar. It's also going to be available under just the normal rental menu. We can see here planning calendar. So when I open up the planning calendar screen, the first thing it does is it gives me a header. And so this header is the ability for me to filter the data that I want to see in this calendar for the duration. And so we can put in today's date if we need to, and we can also choose to show either by day or by hour. So if we're working in more of a dry hire operation, typically it's going to be a per day thing. If we're doing more like cranes and hourly rental, it might be per hour. Now, once we do that, it's going to default to my branch. So you can see here, it's looking at my particular location for 201, but I can choose whether I want to display data from my branch, my area, my state, or maybe the entire business unit itself. Once that's done, the first thing we can do is actually choose what the scoping is that we want. So maybe I want to look at a particular type of equipment that I want to display in this calendar. And so I can start typing in here and search for some types of equipment. So I'm going to choose this 1.7 ton excavator. And when I click on filter on the right, as you can see, it displays a calendar with the days of the month. On the left, we have the serial number of the equipment. We have our branch that we're dealing with, the rental availability, and then the service availability. And so this rental availability will be displayed based upon the workflow that's going through the rental contracts. So things like on hire, available, in inspection, off hired, those sort of things that are going to be automatically triggered and updated in this screen. The service availability is about whether something is currently out of service and there's a current service job allocated for that piece of equipment in the system. Now, what's going to happen is when you create rental contracts over a period of time, they will then be created and displayed in this screen automatically. When I go over here, I can hover over one of the items and it will give me the rental contract number, who the customer is, their address, and any notes that relate to it. I can also right click on it and go in and view the rental contract. I can add some more notes and edit the bookings and things like that as well. But just by clicking on view rental contract, what that will do is it'll look at that particular customer and rental contract and equipment, and then find the relevant rental contract that we're dealing with. And if we look at the details, we can see that we've got that 1.7 ton excavator that is currently in the status of off rent. Now, if we go back here, let's say we've got a current rental contract. So this one is on hire at the moment. I can select that line and I can choose to actually extend the hire as well. So maybe the customer wants it to the 11th of Feb. I drag it out and it'll update the expected off rent date, and I just hit save. And when we go back to our calendar, it'll update to the new duration in there. In addition to this, I can also start the rental process from this screen as well. So let's say we wanted to create a reservation for a customer for maybe on the 31st of Jan. I can choose my equipment and drag the period of time that we want. And when I do that, it'll want to know, am I dealing with a cash customer or an account customer? And then I can just go through and fill out the details like I would normally create a rental contract. So I can put in Polaris Construction, choose the site we're dealing with. We're at North Connects. I can update things like who's ordering the equipment, all the normal stuff you would do when you create a contract. It'll preset the dates and times based upon the selection we made, and all we do is just hit OK. It knows the equipment that we selected on the calendar as well. So it'll update the hierarchy of equipment and the serial number and pull through the rates automatically. We just hit OK. And if we go back out of this screen, it'll create a reservation for that particular customer for that time. Now you can see here we've got various colors that are appearing. You might have a certain color that reflects a certain status in your business. And so up on the top right under settings, we can go to palette. And we've got all the various statuses that we can display in this calendar. And you can go in here and actually choose what color you would like this particular status to be in that case. But in addition to that, once we've got that information, you might want to change what's being displayed. So you can group it by the model or the make or the type, or you can also have a hierarchy displayed as well. In addition to that, we can also, if we are dealing with operators, so we're planning equipment and also maybe people, what we can do is, let's say we're dealing with a 250-ton crane. We can pull through the cranes in here, and let's say we wanted to do it by hour because it's probably more relevant for a crane. So it changes per hour on that date. And on the top left, there's a button that says operators. So if I click on that and then filter again, it will also show me the operators and the relevant skills that that operator has to be allocated to this rental contract as well. And as you can see here, we can also plan the time of operators against rental contracts and see if their skills have expired as well. All right, once that is done, if we wanted to go through and actually get to the equipment, we can right click over here and then view the equipment record, and that will take me straight through to the actual master record for that piece of equipment. So we can see here, we've got that Limac crane, and we can see the rental status and service status. If you wanted to drill through into the asset, we could do that, and so on when you get through to that equipment record. Lastly, let's say you, let's clear all the data here. So just by clicking this top right button over here, the X, let's say you wanted to try and search for a particular customer's data. Rental contracts. So I can actually go in here and type in a customer's name, and I can say I want to see everything on North Connects. And so when I do that, it'll display all the pieces of equipment that are currently out at North Connects. And you can see here the calendar also does bulk items. So it's not just serialized items. So I can see the quantities for the bulk quantities. You've probably seen these red lines here. And so these red lines means that it's overdue. It was meant to come back, but it hasn't come back yet. Lastly, in addition to that, I would say the other cool feature is, let's say I don't have any filters and I just want to look at all of my equipment. I can just hit filter. And that'll actually just filter on all of my equipment in the plant ledger. And so I can see everything rather than scoping it down, which is quite handy as well. All right. If you have any questions or ideas on future topics, please leave a comment in the section below.